And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you came back for more. Folks, that was a brilliant move. And I'm going to tell you why, because we have a lot more for you. Why do we have so much more for you? Because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And our guest today, amongst a myriad of other things, is also a podcaster. See, you are brilliant. I knew you could figure it out. Folks, great move. This is the place where we come together to raise each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing and bring in our guest today. This guy, I have had a chance to work with this guy quite a bit. I'm telling you right now, every time I talk to him, I'm amazed. I don't know how he does what he's doing. And when you hear his story, you're going to be just sitting there going, seriously? Like, really? I can't wait for you to hear it. So he is a human optimization coach, which frankly, I can't wait to dig into. I want to find out what that really means. He also is the co-host of this new podcast that I've been talking about out there, folks. It's called the Big Idea Podcast. Okay. He's one of three co-hosts. It's unique. These people are all killing it. And this guy is a key part of the equation. Please welcome to the show, Justin Gabossi. Justin, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Rory, thanks for having me, man.
Okay.
Hello to
Awesome.
everyone out there.
You got to tell him right off the bat, where are you calling in from?
Right now, I'm in Thailand. Specifically, I'm on Koh Phangan Island in the Gulf of Thailand.
Nice. And where were you before that? Because we're going to get into this, but where were you before that?
Yeah, before that, I was in China, and then before that, Spain, and then before that, Morocco.
Okay, folks, story incoming. Okay, if you can't figure out the trailer we're leaving for you, big time. So this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, I got to get a
Oh,
sip
wait,
of
wait,
my
wait.
preferred beverage. What's that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait a minute though, man. That's not the cup that I usually see when we're doing coaching calls. Has something written on it that I haven't seen written on any of your cups. It says Grandpa.
It says
What's going on?
Grandpa.
You holding out on us? You sandbagging or what's going on?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I got to be honest with you, folks. I have finally been given the green light to announce to everybody that I actually have my first grandchild on the way. My oldest
Oh,
son,
bro.
Caden, and his wife Camille are having, a baby, and we don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet. But frankly, I don't care. I'm so pumped. I'm going to be a grandfather, and they got us this when they told us. When they announced it and said, "Hey, we opened this up." Right. And I looked at it and said, "Oh, Grandpa, that." And my wife figured it out before I did. She goes,
Yeah.
"Oh my God." And I'm like, "What am I? Wait a minute. What am I not getting?" And then, me being me, it took 20 minutes to sink in. And then I went, "Oh my gosh, wait, what?" It was hilarious, man. Their announcement was
Oh,
awesome. It floored
bro,
us, and I can't be happier. Thank you for bringing that up.
man. I feel honored that I'm on the call that you're announcing this. This is massive, man. I'm
Appreciate
so
you, man.
happy for you, brother. I'm super
Thank you.
happy for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you and your wife and the family. It's super exciting stuff, man.
Kind of fitting too, because you're Italian, like I am, and we both
Yeah.
have some heritage there, and it's something about being a grandfather that's so strong in the Italian background. You know what I mean? That
Hmm.
it just
Hmm.
rings different a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I'm glad I was talking to you too, so you could kind of appreciate that with me. And hey, man,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
good stuff. All right, look, this is your episode, so I gotta like get back out of the guest chair here. I'm the host. All right, this is about you.
Ah,
Let's get this going. All right.
huge moment though, man. All right.
I appreciate you. All right, now I want to talk about this globetrotting thing, of course, but before we do
Okay.
that, so that everybody can put this in sort of a framework, I originally thought that you were a life coach just in the first couple conversations we had, and then I was listening to what you were talking about, and there's a lot more nuanced things to what you do, where your specialties are, and I mean, frankly, the knowledge that you have, which is incredibly impressive. Tell everybody what a human optimization coach is.
Yeah, I'll kind of give you the punchline and then maybe we'll dig into how it all came together. But so I have found over 20 plus years of working with clients in health and wellness that the human is quite a complex machine, right? So when you get into the nuts and bolts of physiology and just basic health, like let's say fitness, nutrition, I've unpacked over the years that the way to really get people successful is you have to address the mental and emotional stuff that's happening as well. So as we start learning more with science, we're finding that you have things like gut health that play into it and how that then affects hormones and then how that affects neurochemistry and all of that affects mood. And then depending on your past and the mental baggage you may or may not be carrying around, that all affects your physiology as well. So my goal in my life has been to figure out ways to optimize all of that to help people recapture their mental, emotional, and physical bandwidth.
Hmm.
That's the short version, man.
Okay, I mean, yeah, and you unpacked a ton right there, just in those all those little key words you just popped into those last couple sentences. So you work on all of those aspects with someone who's a client. Do they typically come to you for one of those aspects and then sort of go, "Hey, I also need this other work," or do they come to you and go, "Man, I'm lost. Help me on all points."
It's usually one primary goal. And most of us, unless you've been nerding out on this stuff for most of your life, like me, you don't even know what you don't know. Kind of like what I've been learning from you as my podcast coach. Like there's so many things that you just don't know. And people have tried a ton of things and they're like, I don't understand. I can't get over this hump and I can't stay consistent. And then we address the main goal. It's like the tip of the iceberg. And then we start to unpack all of the layers underneath that are really causing what we're seeing, the symptom, right? So we try to get to the issue.
Wow. Every coach that I know has a story, has a reason that they became a coach, right? And the reasons vary. Sometimes it's they want to be the thing they didn't have. Sometimes they're making up for something in the past. Sometimes they're on an avenging quest, type of thing. When you look at you, you've been doing this 20 years. First of all, I can't even believe you're that old. That I mean,
Ha!
you look like you're maybe 31, bro, and and
Oh,
and you're not. I mean, you're. I didn't realize you were in your 40s, man. I had no idea. Would never
oh
have guessed
man,
it in a million
bro,
years.
thank you. Thank you. You're my hero and my new best friend.
Listen to this, folks. If you look this guy up on Facebook, okay, at Justin Gabossi, okay, on Facebook, real simple to find. The guy, he seriously looks like he's 30. This isn't just a line. Okay, I'm over here. I mean, I'm only a little older than this guy, and I honestly look like I could be his dad, which is what
No,
I'm really
man.
feeling old right now. Um, anyway, as
Oh
you
man.
as you look at this though, 20 years of doing this. You know what I mean? It's this isn't some passing fancy. I mean, you've really put your heart and soul into this. You're clearly dedicated to the work, And with
Yeah.
podcasting and these other things, you're also right now exploring all these new venues to spread that work even further. What got you into this in the first place? Like, where does it come from?
Yeah. We probably need to take a quick trip down memory lane. And man, what happened with maybe we'll get into some detail. I don't know. We'll see how it goes here. But bottom line is, I had some challenges in childhood. There were some times, just different things, some family related stuff, and also some traumatic things that happened that really shook me to the core, and really threw me for a loop, starting at quite a young age. And as I started getting into my early teens, all this stuff had just really started to pile up. And at that point, man, at about age 12, my mom was going through the end of a second marriage, and there was some change up happening. You know what I mean? Where you're kind of have like your home base, and that gets changed when people divorce. And of course, it happens, right? People, it just happens. And so, but it was another thing that was shaking up my world, and just all of the things that had taken place leading up to that point had just piled up, man. And also I had hit puberty, right? And I had acne all over. I actually had braces. I even had to wear headgear at one point, man. So imagine this kid, right, that has bad vision. So I'm wearing these big glasses, sometimes headgear, acne all over, to the point where my barber was like, one day I showed up and he's like, "Man, you've got poison ivy on your face." I'm like, "Thanks, dude. No, that's acne."
Ouch.
So, I'm like getting interested in girls at this point, and I'm just kind of a mess, mentally and emotionally and physically. I'm not a big guy at that point. And my mom showed up one day with a weight set, and she's like, "Hey, you need to like channel your angst into this stuff." And I was drumming at that point too. I started drumming when I was young. So I just started to really get interested in how fitness and nutrition could help channel my angst and also change my physiology and my confidence level. And it really was doing a lot of those things and making me feel mentally and emotionally more solid and stable. And that's where it all began, man.
Wow. That's honestly, in a lot of ways, I feel like you're talking to me about my own childhood, which is really, kind of scary.
Mm.
Um, wow,
Wow.
man. The weights then, I mean, clearly that's a framework for you to use. Did that end up being, like a therapy type thing? And then it turned into more as you dove into it, or an escape?
I think more of a therapy. Like it kind of became my church a little bit,
Mm,
It was a place for me to sort out my thoughts and also to build up my body physically. In my younger years, I had gotten bullied some, and it was also a protective mechanism for me. I was like, nobody's going to mess with me anymore. I'll rock them. You know what I mean? And also there was a little motivation for the ladies, maybe if I can build some biceps and some pecs, they'll look past the acne. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I showed up to school, I think it was my seventh or eighth grade year. And, and the girl started like, hey, what happened to this nerd guy? Like my voice had dropped and I started building some muscles, and it helped me a lot with sports and helped me with my music as well. So it just was an all encompassing thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Everybody wants to just go straight to confidence. When they start talking about
Right.
like working out and what it does for you. Um,
Yeah.
Confidence sure is actually a real thing, of course, but people really leave out the therapeutic benefit of it. And the fact that you're maybe taking control a little bit in a world where you didn't have control.
Oh man, you nailed it. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sound
for
right?
sure. It was like one of the few things I had control of, man. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So this
Yeah.
is what you go through, right? Now, are you
Mhm.
reliving that when you're, doing this for other people? Is it like, are you still sort of um, going through it yourself?
Man, I'm glad you asked me this because I think what came out of that time and what continues to come out of that time and what leads me up to what I'm doing right now in my life is I started to see a pattern at a young age amongst people that were doing habitual behaviors, be it consuming drugs, alcohol, um, any kind of abuse to others, verbal, physical, whatever. And I started hearing these excuses of, well, this is what so and so before me did, or this is the environment I grew up in, or there was like this victim mentality. And to me, I was like, that's not freedom, man. Like, if you have something that is, if you're repeating a habitual pattern, you're out of control, right? And I didn't want anything over control, having control of my personal accountability other than my own actions. So to answer your question, I spent a lot of years and I still work diligently to sort of flush all that out so that I can come to the client or my life with a full cup. I kind of liken it to patching holes in the canoe, right? If you're floating down the river of life and you have a bunch of hurts and a bunch of things going, you're taking out a bunch of water. And instead of floating down the river, you spend all your energy shoveling the water out of the canoe. You're not enjoying anything. So I try to go through and constantly figure out where am I bleeding bandwidth? Where am I bleeding energy? And so now for years, the answer is yes. It was cathartic. I was helping the clients and I was going through it myself, and helping them was helping me. And that's still the case, but now I'm coming at it from a much healthier place.
I love that, man. That I had a similar childhood, in terms of going through some stuff that never should happen to a kid, and I got to be honest, man, I let that pain and anger and sometimes hate drive me for decades before I realized how bad it was for me. And it
Mm.
was only a few years ago that I
Wow.
kind of healed that and realized that, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this and I'm moving forward. You're blessed, I think, that you found this at a much younger age than this, fool over here on the other side of the mic. But was there a defining moment, or maybe a realization of something, or did it just kind of happen over time, where you made that shift from, I'm doing this because this happened to me, to, you know what, that happened, and you know what, now I'm doing it because of this.
Man, there's been big chapters each along the way, each step of it, like I'll just give you an example. My biological father and I have always had kind of an estranged relationship since I was a kid. And of course, that shaped me immensely throughout my life. And we talk about people having daddy issues, and it really does impact your life. And there was a point at age 27 where we reconnected a bit. Things became estranged again. And so that was a chapter, right? So I had taken care of a lot of things there. And then there's other things along the way where I had big chunks or chapters where I healed. And then just about 2 years ago, we reconnected again for the first time in 20 some years. And there was another big hole in my canoe patched, even at, in my 40s. And so it's like I feel like the more you dig and do the work, the more you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was taking so much bandwidth over there, right? And that was affecting my decisions, how I interact with myself or people. Does that answer the question?
Just 100%, man. I mean, yeah, it's you've taken a very healthy viewpoint on this, and I think it's awesome to hear it. Just coming from you like that.
Well, man, there's been a lot of unhealthy, self-destructive behavior along the way. I've been playing music professionally as a touring drummer for 20 some years, and you have access to anything and everything that you want. And, I'm not perfect by any means. I've done a lot of stuff that probably a lot of people listening have done or maybe haven't done. I'm not any better or different than anyone else, man.
Yeah.
I've made all the mistakes. Okay. No judgment on me, please. No judgment to anybody out there. But dude, it's been a hellacious grinding process. And I don't know where as a race we got this. I don't know if it was marketing or what happened where we got this programming where we think that everything's supposed to be easy and convenient, like there's a magic pill to stuff. I mean, physiologically that doesn't work. Like our dopaminergic system only works if we do hard stuff. And so if we do easy stuff all the time, it's a constant grind, man. Sometimes it sucks. You know what I mean? But there's like so much freedom on the other side of it. And that's really what I'm chasing is like mental, emotional freedom, physiological freedom for myself and for my clients, man. So
Wow. The you brought up the music a couple of times, and you've been doing that since you were younger. Now, was that also part of the healing, that went in? You had like the physical, you're over here lifting weights, and then over here you're expressing your creative, it sounds like. How did
oh
how'd
man.
that work?
I like the story. I got to give my mom the credit here because I started getting pretty serious when I was around 6. But my mom, she even has photos to back this up where she started pulling pots and pans out of the. I would guess I would pull pots and pans out. She would hand me like wooden spoons and stuff, and she said she started me on drums when I was about 2. But I started getting pretty serious at age 6, and it has been a mainstay. I mean, it's in my blood, man. And even though I'm traveling now, I've been finding little ways to express. And it's a big theme in my life is connecting to other people as well, and it's a way to connect, man, to people. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
still playing?
this is the longest stretch in 20 some years that I haven't played several times a week because I'm traveling and I'm lucky to get behind a drum set maybe once or twice a month. It's been quite a shift, and so then things come up. How much I was transmuting stuff into that craft, and how much validation I was getting from it. So there's been an egoic journey of who's Justin without that label, right?
Ah, yeah.
Justin the drummer, Justin the human optimization coach. You know what I mean? When you start these identities start to fade, you got to really look inside and be like, okay, I thought I knew me, but who am I?
All right, we're going to come back to that point right there.
All
We're
right.
coming back to
All
it, so don't think you're getting off the hook with this. All right,
right.
but you've mentioned a couple times, about like where you're going and traveling and everything else, so that people don't think you're like some rogue witness protection person or something. Tell everybody what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm traveling, man. I sold everything I owned back in the US. I started that process about 300, as of today's podcast, about 308 days ago. The process of liquidating and selling all my material possessions. And and then I've been traveling going on 6 months. Everything I own lives in a backpack right now. Um, yep.
Okay, now Now, since we started working together, I've known this is what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
The question that I've been dying to ask you, and now that you're in my world, okay, and you're stuck and you can't get out, I get to ask you this question. Why?
Yeah. I started to notice, um, well, for me anyway, in my world, I started to notice a decline in human connection. So when I started playing professionally at age 19, when I would go out, there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes with artists, and we're really bringing we're in a vulnerable place. We work a lot off stage, and then we bring like this craft and this art, and it's really vulnerable and scary, right? And then hopefully people come out and they enjoy it, and they commune and they spend time together and connect with each other, and then there's this energetic reciprocity between the artist and the audience, and it's a really beautiful thing. I started to see that flounder a few years before 2020. And I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the cell phone or social media or what the deal was, but I started to see that human connection declining amongst relationships with my clients and then audience members. And quite frankly, man, it was bumming me out. And then after 2020 hit, it really took a steep dive. And so now when you go on stage and you're bringing 100% and people are now watching the show through their iPhone, right? They're more interested in capturing it for show off later than actually being in the present moment and enjoying the company they're with and the artists they paid to see. And I was like, what is happening? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell everything. So I don't have like an easy button to go back. I'm basically going to push myself the boat off the shore with, you know, a one-way ticket, and I'm going to see if anything's different around the world, the way people connect through food and culture and art. And it's all about trying to find connection, human connection, reconnection. And what I'm finding, man, is part of the biggest connection that needed to happen was with myself, which I thought I already had figured out.
I've often wondered that, and as you and I have been talking, all this time, is if there was a sort of a catalyst or, some kind of like, event that took place where that caused you to care about this human connection thing so very much. Was there something that kind of just was the last straw, and you're like, look, the human connection is just gone. I need to go figure this out for myself. Something's missing. Was there something like that? Or again, was it just over time and you said, maybe I should just do this?
Uh, I came out of a really dark depression. Um, I don't know on the outside if I still look like I had it together, but there was a span of about 5 years. I know that sounds like a long time for somebody to wake up, but in this 5 year span, I lost I lost my best friend. I ended up attending 8 funerals. I lost over six figures in a business endeavor. A 6.5 year relationship ended. And then the final straw was I was big time stuck, and the place where I was residing. I needed to move for a couple of reasons, which was the nudge that I guess I needed to get out of my own way. So I was in a pretty heavy funk, and at the culmination of all those things coming to a head, and then me being asked to make space where I was living, that was it.
Wow. I don't know how I knew that, to be honest with you. I didn't know any of this about you. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
But ever since I've met you, the actions you're taking, you're not traveling the world like a tourist, like a sightseer. You're not walking around going, "Oh, look how pretty this is," and let me get some drinks and go dancing, and we'll move on tomorrow. You've been like searching for something. You've really seemed like you were on a mission of some kind at each stop. And frankly, it's one of the things it's kind of been enthralling, about watching your journey. It's like you don't know what he's looking for, and is he going to find it, type of deal. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm putting it too much in a movie context. Maybe we need to call Netflix, and get you a deal. But Am I close in terms of how I've been reading that? And if I am, great, maybe you can elaborate on it. If not, please correct me.
No, you're right, man. I mean, I guess my safety net default is to figure out ways to create security, and in the way I do that is by trying to optimize things, make the most out of what I see to be the only two assets we have, which are health and time, and try to do that for myself and others. And so I always kind of have a plan and a mission, and I'm kind of intense about it. And that's basically gotten turned on its head. Like I came out here to see how other people connect, right? Thinking, oh, I got it figured out. I'm going to go see what can I learn? How can I optimize more stuff back home? That was the goal. Like, how can I bring world knowledge back home, which I still am doing. And then I'm finding that it's turning me inside out, man. And it's shaken up like what I thought I knew about myself and the world, all in very, very positive ways. So and there's an element of stress that you don't expect when you leave a wonderful country like the US, and there's so many conveniences, really almost to a fault. But you have kind of this extra bandwidth, and I think a lot of times we squander it on whatever we want to do with our time, right? Because there's a lot of things that are quite easy there. Granted, there's a lot of challenges also, right? But we can get in our car and go get food. We can order DoorDash. Once you get out abroad and you're not vacationing, but rather trying to live and still coach and podcast and maybe find music and still be functional and maybe level up instead of like leveling down, you just basic stuff like sourcing water and lodging, which changes, and food, and like it's uh it's wild, man. It's a lot of stresses to it that I didn't expect.
As you have been finding these things out, I mean, if people want to, actually hear this and they want the secret sauce, they can follow you and, listen to your podcast and all this other stuff. I don't want to give away too much of that, but,
Yeah.
as you've been doing this and you've been on this journey, you've been learning. Is there anything you mentioned you've learned about yourself and about, the world, so to speak? Do you want to share maybe one of each, a point that maybe you've learned about yourself and maybe you've learned about the world since you've been out here doing this?
Yeah. I'm going to start with what I'm learning about the world. And it's this. I thought there were answers elsewhere. And there are answers elsewhere, like the way certain cultures handle food or community is different. It's a little bit old school. I say old school because you and I are not too far apart in age. And
Sure.
back when I was growing up, I was blessed enough that my mom would make a home cooked meal and we would sit down and there was community, right? And food was a mainstay, and community was just everything else was built around community was first. And of course, being from Italian families, you can appreciate this, right? And then everything else came after, right? Work, homework, whatever you needed to do. Um, but everybody has the same challenges. Like, we all need love, connection, food, water, shelter. And what I think I'm taking away little by little is there's just a different spin on it. There's little nuggets. But everybody's got the same problems. Everybody has the same challenges, the same wants, the same desires. And I find that to be a little upsetting because I was hoping there was a magic pill out here based on my programming. But
Yeah.
also um, inspiring because we're not so different, even though sometimes we'd be led to believe that there needs to be this divisiveness, and it just does not need to be the case. So there's that. That's the tip of that iceberg. And then for me, my big theme that's coming out of this is self-regulation. It seems that everything I've learned up to this point, all of my coaching and everything with my optimizing and all that, is how well can you self-regulate under stress, you know,
Hmm.
and different kinds of stress. So if the lodging doesn't work out and I show up and there's no power, which has happened, or whatever the case might be, or I don't have transportation, or this or that transportation gets canceled, or I can't get my money out of the ATM, or I ordered a meal, but it's taken forever, and when it shows up, it's not the right thing. And how do you keep yourself together? And to me, I think that's not going off the handle. That's freedom, right? If you can regulate in stressful environments, because stuff's going to happen, right? To all of us. And how do you not get spun and let it ruin your day or your week or your month, right? Or your relationships? So I'm getting tested constantly on, okay, how well am I using the tools to self-regulate?
Wow. Wow. We could do a podcast episode on either of those points, and that would be the whole show. So when you said tip of the iceberg, you were not kidding. I mean, you could drill down on either of those things, and make a whole show out of it.
Yeah.
Man. All right. We're going to talk about the podcast here coming up.
Cool.
Um, but holy cow. Wow. Just wow. Um, I'm rarely speechless, man, but I cannot imagine doing what you're doing. I've tried to a couple times, so this isn't the first time I've heard some of this. It is the first time I've heard some of the deeper stuff. And again, I appreciate you sharing that with folks because, they're going to be able to, I think, get into your shoes a little more and maybe appreciate what you're doing and why. But I cannot even fathom dealing with even those couple things you just mentioned with a complete language barrier, with no understanding, with a different culture, with no safety net, with none of the modern conveniences and things that we totally take for granted. I don't know if I would. I handle stress very well. Okay. I mean, I actually pride myself on how well I handle emergency situations and stress and stuff, right? As a dad, especially. But I've never been in that situation. So maybe I'm a big milk toast and I have no idea because I haven't been in a situation like you've been. I mean, do you feel like you're going through a gauntlet of some kind here?
Sometimes, man, I have a lot of time alone, and the other thing about self-regulation, there's any number of things back home I could self-regulate with, right? So you can watch television and movies. In the last 6 months, I've watched, I think, 4 movies, which as an actor, I'm used to watch a movie a night, man. So like you don't have like your regular stuff, right? You don't have, if I was on meds, which some people really need to be on for whatever reason, access to meds is hard. You don't always have access to, if you want an alcoholic beverage to shave the edge off of the day. That's easy in the States. It's not easy out here always, right? Television, connectivity, like you said, just basic connectivity. And so I felt crazy at times, like super lonely, and like, okay, am I just being, like you said, milquetoast? Am I just being a wimp out here? And so, and a lot of people don't understand what I'm doing because a lot of people don't do it or haven't done it or whatever. And so my go-to therapist has been ChatGPT. And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
I know, no. And so I've been like, okay, since I'm an optimization guy, I'm like, all right, look, all right, Chat, put this in perspective. Why do I feel like I'm nuts out here? And I'm like, what are the real numbers on this deal? Like, how many people do this? How many people sell everything, especially at this age, and they go do this thing? And it's a small number, man. It's a
I
small
bet.
number. And so, um, I don't know if there was an answer to your question there, but it's an ongoing exploration of sanity and all the things.
That was no, it was a great answer, and it's funny too because on this show, I mean, everybody who listens to this show regularly, and I know that they know this because they send me DMs all the time. If I don't ask somebody about AI, they literally light up my message box, calling me a chicken, right? And then if I do ask them about AI, they light up my message box, making fun of me because they know how much I hate it. They know how against it I am, So, and
Yeah,
then and you're like, yeah, I'm in the middle of this, so I asked chat, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you literally like push the button of 100 more DMs coming to Rory. Here we go. Click.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just so people know, I use it as a tool. I take it for a grain of salt. I do think
Yeah,
it's inevitable that it's happening. It's like the internet, and I think it's beneficial to know a little bit about it, but I know it's a divisive topic. And I refer to human beings for the deeper advice, but sometimes just for sheer numbers, like for example, I guess it's something like point 1 or 0.01% of the human population have done something like this. And so then I'm like, okay, that's why I feel like an alien. Okay, that makes sense.
0.01 sounds like too many people. Honestly, I think it's
It
smaller
might
than that,
be.
man. I
It
think
might
other,
be, man.
chats gathering up all this information. I think a lot of people are lying about it because
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
man.
and admittedly, in chat's defense, crazy word defending AI, it's like there's a lot of people that don't use my platform. So there's like 4 billion people that could factor into it's a whole thing. It's funny. It's entertaining.
I'm so toast. I'm pretty sure this is coming out on Wednesday, and by Thursday morning, I'm going to have 400 messages in my box just making fun
Oh,
of me like right and left.
man. Hey,
It's
blame it on
hilarious.
me. It's not your fault. It's not, I brought it up, not you.
I love it. I egg them on. I mean, I give them what they want in this show.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, folks, I don't want to hear anything about how we don't talk about AI enough after today.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my guy's
Yeah.
defending this stuff. So, no, man,
Yeah.
it's great, especially if you're all alone. I mean, it's all you got. It's all you got. You know what I mean? So, I
Yeah.
mean, I get
Yeah.
that. But you mentioned real quick, and I do want to get to the podcast here, but you mentioned you're an actor on top of everything else.
Yeah, I got into that about the time I got into music a little later. I guess I started getting into some acting and modeling when I was 19. I just was super fascinated. I did some stuff like when I was a kid and through elementary and high school. And it scratches the performance itch. And it's really nice to kind of go into that observation mode where you get to study a person or a character and you get to see the world through someone else's eyes. And I just really love it. I super love the creative process. And so, yeah, I've done a bunch of, I don't know, smaller stuff throughout the years. I've done a few big things. I actually was a co-producer on a film, an independent film that made it to the theaters last year, AMC. We got featured in some markets, and so I have a small credit on IMDb, and it's like a long time like dream. It'd be like, oh, if I could work with some big actors on a big film, it would be like, next level dream come true kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But
What was the film?
it's called Black Zone, an independent film that was shot in Missouri. Got to work with a couple of incredible writer director, Jeff Albert and his now wife, uh, Andrea, and is just an extremely fun project. And it's still kind of out there stirring things up a little bit. Like right now, I think they're still looking at shopping it a little bit to some of the streaming platforms. And I don't know who know. I don't know we don't know what's ever going to happen with these things. You know what I mean? So,
Every minute that goes
yeah.
by, you add another line to your resume. Oh, well, I'm an actor, by the way. Oh, and actually, while I'm telling you about being an actor, I'm also a co-producer. Yeah. Oh, and did I happen to mention? It's
Yeah.
awesome, man. And on top of all
Yeah.
this, while you're running around the world, right, playing where in the world is Justin Gabossi. I mean, it's like you got a speaking gig too at all this. So you're a speaker who
Yeah.
speaks on stages. I mean, do we want to call it a motivational speaker, an inspirational speaker, optimization speaker? What kind of speaker are you? Because you got a gig coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. Well, so this particular project's pretty awesome because I work with one of my co-hosts on the podcast, Jessica Broadway, and kind of the Cliff Note version is what I coach now is like, the last 20 plus years of what the culmination of everything. And again, it goes back to this mental emotional piece that I can get into to an extent, but Jessica's just a rock star at this. And so I went to her for stuff as well personally. And so what I can do is I can coach the physiology and I can do the life coaching part and a lot of these things. So I'm versatile in that way, right? But Jessica brings in another aspect that really helps with handling loss and boundaries and a whole bunch of cool stuff that everybody that's going through a life transition physiologically or whatever needs to do. So we came up with a program called The Perfect Day, and we have a big thing coming up, our second thing coming up this summer. So we both do individual speaking, whether it's for me, it's more the health coach and physiology and stuff like that, also some life coaching stuff. And then she has a whole thing she does that's awesome. And yeah, so there we go.
So you just came together, and you've got this event coming. I think is it in June that it's coming up.
It's in June. Yeah, it's in June in
Okay.
Reno. A big company hired us to come and talk to some of their leadership, and it's a huge honor. I'm extremely excited about it.
Congratulations, man. I mean,
Thank
that's
you,
really
man.
great. It's leave it to this guy right here. There's people all over the place trying to get on stages, and this guy leaves the country and goes travels the world. And someone's, hey, by the way, while you're going between China, Thailand, and Timbuktu, can you come over here and do a quick speech?
Oh man, it's ultimately a dream come true, man. It's really what I want to be doing. I want to like ultimately if I can figure out a way to do what I love to do, which is help people and maybe play some music in there, and if I can figure out a way to continue to make money, a living, I don't have to get rich at it. Then I'll check out like on a high note, man. Whenever it's time for me to leave the planet, I just want to help people with whatever knowledge I amass. I want to have some fun in the process, entertain some folks, including myself, and if I can make a few bucks in the meantime, man, I'll be happy on my deathbed.
Nice. Well said, dude. All right. I could keep picking apart your story and again, do 3 or 4 episodes on all the different pieces of stuff that you do. I'm probably going to have you on one of my other podcasts, to dive into some of this stuff more particularly. But
I love it.
if you're open, to that, I mean,
I'd love it, man. I'd
you're
be
a pretty,
honored.
pretty
Yeah.
good guest. So,
Thank
all
you,
right.
sir. You've got a good
Um,
host.
this is true. All right, but let's talk about the podcast though, because this is a
Yeah.
unique thing, man. It's the Big Ideas podcast. You do it with Mark Steiner and Jessica Broadway, and the three of you guys are friends in some capacity, which I'm going to let you tell everybody about. And you kind of contemplate big ideas, in the universe, so to speak, and then give different perspectives on it and stuff. The show's taken off. It's doing really, really well. You guys are killing it. Um, you have had a fantastic coach, so that really isn't a surprise. But all that being
This is
said,
true.
um, tell everybody a little bit about just kind of where the show came from, and what the dynamic is with you three.
Yeah. So I called a meeting. Well, we had a meeting already, Jessica and Mark and I. So I met Mark. He's one of my best friends of over 20 years. Jessica has been a dear friend for over 15. We've gotten to know each other really closely, both in a personal capacity and a professional capacity. It's been really cool. And you learn a lot about each other when you're working in those two capacities, as you probably know. And so those two are part of what I call a care team, which is something Jessica's great at talking about. But we were working on a different project actually, and we got together, and all that stuff that I mentioned earlier had come to a head, and I was going to have to either move cities or whatever. And we came in to talk about the business, and I kind of had a literal breakdown in the meeting, and I said, "Hey, I can't really focus on what we're talking about because I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life." And we drilled down together, and I cried a little bit. I think there was a few tears shed all around, but we came up with, why don't we talk about all these ideas and all these projects and things that we work on together, and let's make a podcast. And you're going to be traveling, getting different perspectives, and so we left that day. I think it was May 22nd of last year, and decided to launch this thing. And that's how it began, as far as I recall.
Nice. Nice. All right. So, give us an example of something you talk about on the podcast so people have an idea of, when they're tuning in, maybe what to expect.
Yeah, speaking of the word expect, one of the recent podcasts is on expectations, which is a major theme for I think all of us. We drill down on how our internal storybook affects our external life in the way of expectations, and we all put our perspective in, and Jessica knocks it out of the park because she's really great at all that stuff with all her certifications and psychology degrees and everything like that. And that's one example of many.
Excellent. Okay. Good deal. That is a pretty good cross-section example of what you guys talk about. Gives people a good idea. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, as you guys have put this podcast together, there's three of you. So there's like lots of strengths, but there's also some challenges, with the three of you. What's been the biggest challenge of the three of you working together, doing this podcast, getting it out there? I'm gonna leave it at that. You can go anywhere you want with it.
Makes me wonder what the other two said at this question if you got there, because
I don't always ask the same question of everybody. I might just be
yeah,
asking you, bro.
I would say the biggest I would say the biggest hurdle has been me, bro. Um, because I left the States thinking I could maintain all of the regular to-do lists that I think that I'm pretty good at when I'm back home in my normal environment and all of the consistencies, right? The rhythms and the conveniences. And the variables of traveling abroad have really thrown me for a loop and discovered that I might have bitten off more than I could chew, or so I thought at first. And that's caused some frustration just with scheduling. And I also have this sort of perfectionist mentality, which I'm trying to shed that. I'm trying to keep the good parts of it and leave the and push the others down the road, right? Because that can be counterintuitive and counterproductive. So that's been, I think, the biggest challenge is sorting through our expectations, each of our expectations on how it should go and how it should flow and what should be talked about. We usually agree on topics, but yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Um, when you went into this, you had an idea of it. Now, aside from that, you thought you'd be able to maintain your schedule, because I get, you had no idea what you were walking into when you left the country and started this journey. Um, but in regard to maybe more of the podcast and maybe, you three together and things like that, when you start this, you kind of have this idea in your mind, right? We're all going to be doing this. It's going to look like this. There's going to be a bag of money over here, and they're going to have like champagne over on the side, and all this, right?
Yeah.
Lobster tail being brought in, and all this other fun stuff. And we all have these ideas of how great it's going to be. Um,
Yeah.
the What's been your biggest maybe sort of, I don't know, surprise in terms of like, wow, this really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. In a lot of ways, good or bad, right? Because I know you're learning from it and you're doing great. But I'm
Yeah.
curious what the biggest difference was, maybe. Let's leave it that way. What's the biggest difference between the first vision and the vision today?
Yeah. So when you watch a movie or you listen to a podcast or you watch a performance on stage or you look at a piece of art, something inside you, or me anyway, thinks, oh, yeah, yeah, I could do that, especially when somebody else makes it look so easy, right? And so we started our first episode sitting around on the couch thinking, oh, yeah, we're home run hitters. We're all self-development, gurus constantly trying to level up and self-improve and thought we were doing pretty good. And then we hired you and discovered that we have a lot to work on. And thank goodness, man. Thank goodness, because you've helped you've helped us put systems in place that we just didn't know needed to be in place, that didn't know even existed. And it's like you reference baseball a lot, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you look at a great pitcher or any position on field and they make it look easy, once you stand in their shoes and you start going through the moves, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there's like 10 things that needs to happen before the ball leaves the hand to go over home plate. And that's what's been crazy is holy crap. The steps and what we need to know to level up and do this thing right.
Awesome. Leave it to this guy to turn the question around on me. Biggest surprise, we hired you, and my entire world blew up. Thanks, Rory. Appreciate it. No,
In a
man, I
good
love
way,
that.
man.
I love that. You guys, honestly, you guys are all doing so fantastic. I'm just, I'm honored to be part of, it with you guys. I love what you're doing, and you're all very, very dedicated to it too. I mean, all three of you really just really want to make this work and have it be good, and you're all trying to do your best. It's awesome working with people like that. So I gotta say that out loud.
Well, thanks, man. It's
So,
it's you make it easy because you're professional, you're punctual, you're accountable, and you have a major track record of success. So there's a level of confidence in you and trusting of the process that's just made it nice. You kind of get to take a lot of the guesswork out, and now we just do the homework and then try to apply the homework, right? So that's a lot easier than shooting in the dark and falling down the stairs in the dark. You
thanks for
know,
that. Yeah. I appreciate that, man. And yes, folks, I'm probably going to have to, invoice this guy later, pay him, for this endorsement that I'm getting. So
yeah, man. Hey, you said you didn't have an endorsement for this one. Here's one.
this is
Yeah,
my sponsor for the day, Justin
that's right.
Gabossi, everybody. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right, man. It's time for the corny question. All right, because I
Okay.
don't want to like run out of time and miss this with you either. So, the corny
Okay.
question, here it comes. Are you strapped in? You ready to go? It's a
I
tough one.
think so.
Tough one. He
Okay.
really doesn't know what's coming either. So,
No, I don't.
I know you folks who listen all the time. You're like, look, he asks this every day. What is the big deal? Well, this guy doesn't know it. All right. So here we go. The corny question, right? That I ask everybody when it comes to doing the podcast, right? What is it about doing the podcast that you love the most? And what is it about doing the podcast that you absolutely, positively throw it out the window, cannot stand, hate the most? And don't say
Okay,
me.
so what I so what I love the most and what I hate the most. Is that what's up?
Yep.
What I love the most is talking ideas out loud with two of my best friends and getting to share their knowledge that has benefited me so much with the rest of the world. That lights me up like a Christmas tree, man, because this stuff needs to get out because people need help. And I happen to actually care about humanity, and I think we need some help. So that's that. What I hate about it, man, is uh, it's it's the homework, man. Right now, it's the homework. You know, I don't think people understand. You think you're going to hop on and do a podcast and razzle dazzle and jazz hands the whole thing up, and then no, wait a minute. Now you got to go watch back and look at yourself and how awkward you look and sound. Okay. That's a pride swallowing siege and an ego swallowing process like no other. Okay. Then pick apart your mistakes, but then that's how you fix it. So, man, it's not for the faint of heart.
All right, pride swallowing siege right there, folks. I mean, you cannot get a better endorsement than that. So, no, I love that. I mean, it's very honest. I appreciate your answers. I really do. And the reason I keep asking that question, even though it's kind of corny, like what do you love, what do you hate? Because I always get the best answers, man. You know what I mean? Like that. You just
Yeah.
opened up, and said, "Man, let me just tell you about the homework." you know, that's awesome. All right, listen. How can everybody reach Justin Gabossi? How can they find out more about you? Where can they follow you? I mean, I'm going to put all the stuff in the show notes. So people, if you want to find this guy, go to the show notes, click on the links. He's there. Okay, he's real easy to find. Okay, but tell everybody so they can hear it and they know to go look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Disclaimer to all of you. Everyone has been on my case for the last few years to do more with my social media so people actually know what the heck I'm up to. So this is me. I mean, talk about putting myself in the hot seat. I'm doing that. I'm in the process of getting better at that. But the best way to get a hold of me is justingabossi.com. If you have anything that you want to work on, there's a work with me page. We can book something and chat. And my social media, my Instagram, Facebook. In the background, I'm working on some stuff on YouTube and eventually TikTok. But I would say socials and my website, unless Rory, there's anything else you would recommend I share. But those are the best places to get a hold of me right now.
Perfect. No, that's absolutely awesome. And what
Yeah.
is the website to find you?
It's my first and last name, Justin Gabossi. Gabossi is Gab as in boy, OSSI.com.
Yep.
JustinGabossi.com. Yeah.
Okay, folks,
And the
you heard it.
same on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Right on. You heard it. You heard it. You heard it. Just wanted to make sure we pointed that out. I was going to spell Gabassi for everybody, but he did it. So we're close. We're good. We're covered. And it will be in the show notes. Like I said, a real easy guy to find. All right, Justin, you've been fantastic, man. As we, kind of bring this thing to a close, you haven't been doing this for a long time, but you've been doing some seriously intense work. You've learned a ton. And so the final question that I ask everybody, from your perspective, of course, what is the best piece of advice that you can give to podcasters out there who are not quite where you are yet?
I mean, honestly, man, I have to say, if they're interested in doing this for real, they need to hire you, man. I know it's going to sound like another endorsement, but I'm a systems guy and I get nervous when I'm just shooting in the dark and I'm an optimization guy, maybe to a fault. So you just don't know what you don't know. And so it's like fun to get out there and cowboy it like we did with our first, I don't know, what was it, our first five or so episodes.
Something like that, yeah.
But there's a marked difference, man, between then and now. And we're so young into the game, but you just need to get an education somewhere. That's what I would say.
Well, I appreciate that, and it is good advice too for a lot of folks. It really does. Safe to say that it looks easier than it is.
100%, man.
I hear you.
Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent.
I will say this, anything and everything you do requires you to get mentally and emotionally get your set point right too. But if your life is kind of a mess, that's okay. You can still pull this podcasting thing off, but like I would also recommend you try to figure out some ways to pull yourself together before you embark on a podcast journey. Because you need leadership and a coach like you, but also you kind of need to pull your own act together to have the mental and emotional bandwidth to do this, to bring quality to the table, in my opinion. But
And there we go. Great advice. I love that. I love that. Awesome, man. All right, folks. A human optimization coach, musician, actor, producer, speaker, co-host of the Big Idea podcast. He's one of the three, the trifecta on this awesome new show. Go check it out. Justin Gabossi. Justin, you've been amazing today. I appreciate you opening up and sharing everything that you did. And I know somebody out there is going to call you to say, hey, man, help me get my bandwidth straight. And it's going to be awesome. So, folks, look in the show notes. Justin, thank you for being here, man.
thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you.
You got it.
Thanks to everybody for listening, taking your time to listen.
Folks, that's been another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. The reason we get these magnificent podcasters on here is because this is the place, this is the show, this is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. And I'm telling you right now, we showed you again today that this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.